Still see me? You see my screen? Everything's good?
Yes. I'm going to remove us from the stream so you don't hear us or anything, but you're still good.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you and good morning. Thanks for having me on this morning. I'm in Dallas, Texas, so the sun's just peeking out here, but I'm excited and glad everyone got to show up and hear a little bit about what we're seeing in the face of retail, both during COVID and what we kind of expect in the future. As I mentioned, my name is Charles Parker. I'm the project director for the Retail Coach. I handle kind of the Southeast for our firm. And we work with communities across the country, helping with retail recruitment and development strategies, both trying to recruit the larger brands, the national and the regional brands, but also working with local businesses to figure out, hey, how do we keep moving on in the current state of retail prior to COVID, in the age of e-commerce, working with what the national brands are doing, bring that down to a local level. But then also now working through COVID and 2020 and the challenges that it's brought. Obviously, things are more virtual now. I actually just had my first in-person event since February last week. And my headshot there, I got some comments on that doesn't quite look like me anymore. So I have to update that to the 2020 version. Andy cut off the sound, but I imagine all of you are laughing hysterically now. That's about as good as the humor is going to get this early in the morning. So stay tuned. But kind of jumping in and highlighting it, I kind of want to touch on 3 quick points this morning, not take too much of your time, but hit some points that we think are important. The national trends, what are we seeing from, the top level tier, and how does that trickle down to local businesses? Obviously touch on online presence and its importance, and then implications on the local level. Obviously, 2020 has been a year, and it's kind of been dubbed the great pause of 2020. And that's not to make light of what we're seeing, because we know the impact on local businesses has been intense. My dad's a small business owner out in East Texas, but by that we mean that it's a point where, because of everything's going on, the behavior changes that have been put in place, most people still have a relative optimism for what's going to happen once behavior is allowed to go back and return to what it was prior to the virus. Brick and mortar sales have projected to drop double digits this year. However, like I said, there is an expected rebound, folks, from just about every section of the national and regional real estate sectors. National businesses expect that they're going to be a strong bounce back, when the training wheels are taken off and we're allowed to act like we were prior to everything. Foot traffic is a big thing that we're keeping tabs on really every day. And as we can see, during year-over-year foot change during 2020, all categories just about have been down, with the exception of just a few. Nationally, groceries are down just a little bit, but in several states, especially in the Southeast, groceries kind of been the tried and true. But as we probably say, looking around, home improvement has really been the champion in terms of foot traffic in real estate and retail across the country, as folks are doing it themselves, working on projects at home as they're quarantined. These are kind of the trends that we're seeing. And I think moving forward, what we're going to see on expansion on retail brands, they're going to be grocery anchored, and they're going to be focused around home improvement uses, because those are the ones that have shown most resilient. Looking more specifically at Georgia, it's performed higher than the average, as we might expect with what we're having going on there, with local ordinances, statewide ordinances, that it's been a little more loose and more like Texas and Florida and some of the other states. Groceries have actually improved year over year. Home improvement is much higher. Dining and apparel are faring much better than they are across the national average. So locally, for us here, or for you guys there in Georgia, that's kind of a little bit of a silver lining, that we're in this ecosystem that has been a little bit more favorable to retail. But as foot traffic obviously drops for most major categories, e-commerce, the giant that we were talking about even before COVID, is really playing the major role in this. As contactless transactions have become a major aspect of it, e-commerce and what is entailed has continued to jump high in 2020. That's going to be a major part going into the holiday season. But then, as you kind of see there in 2021, there's expected to be a little bit of a drop back and a correction, next year. Hopefully as there is a vaccine and a way for us to return to pre-COVID levels, that there is a correction coming back to where it bounces back, that people want that experience to be able to leave their homes and go out and experience life, as it was without the training wheels on that aspect. But I do want to point out that, as e-commerce does, jump a major percentage in 2020, and as it keeps climbing, a big proponent of that is click and collect, where you go on a website, you go on your phone and you order from there, you pay, and then go to the store and pick up. The click and collect projections have doubled since January, what they're expecting for 2020. But I think a big takeaway is this, and click and collect, and what it means for local businesses is people are still going to physical locations. I'm going to talk a lot about brick and mortar and its role moving forward. But as we adopt click and collect more and more, buy online, pick up in store, curbside pickup, these are the types of things that require a physical location. Even delivery, in a sense, requires a physical location locally. So I think in terms of local businesses, independent businesses, in a sense, all of this has really showed that there is a high importance on why there needs to be brick and mortar locations in local communities. And I just want to run through kind of from a top tier approach from what some of the national guys are doing, just to kind of give you a sense that, hey, if we're an independent business and we want to emulate what the top level tiers are doing, what are the trends that they're changing? So I've got 5 or 6 examples here to run through quickly. But Macy's is introducing a smaller footprint concept. So instead of dropping and having their big anchor stores of 85,000 square feet, these are 15, 20,000 square feet, where they have these communal spaces for cooking tutorials, book signings, crafting classes, even fitness classes to go in, to where even now they can socially distance, wear a mask, and have a place for people to go and get out of their homes. Michael's is the same way. You see in that picture on the left, I'm not sure you can see it in the room, but that whole red wall, those are all pickup lockers that you come in and scan a code and they pop open to where you can go online, order it and not have to talk to anybody, make contact with anybody. And everything from your shopping cart will already be bagged waiting for you there. They've updated their checkout process where you can self-scan and swipe, where you really don't have to see anybody at all, kind of like what the Walmarts, some of the groceries have, where it's really contactless to accommodate for the COVID aspect of everything. And then again, this is also another thing, the maker space, the communal areas where you can come in and do a craft project. And we're seeing a lot of these, be successful in downtown communities too, whether it be a maker space, whether it be a fitness store, an outdoor store with the rock wall like we have over in Tupelo, where our headquarters is. What are the place that you can create a space that people have to come experience, even now in COVID times, we can do it safely. And then from a food aspect, a whole lot more with drive-throughs and convenience. Sonic is updating their aspect. They've been one of the top brands in 2020. They've actually had a record growth this year because of the convenience aspect that they can provide. But their new concepts are going to have updated outdoor seating area with patio lights and outdoor games. Burger King is looking super futuristic, might even elevate their kitchen to a second floor, but have multiple lanes for delivery apps. This particular model has bike lanes for the ones going through and having bicycle delivery for Uber Eats and the like. Shake Shack, again, the common theme here is going to be the app delivery and the food apps, the partnerships with Uber Eats, Grubhub, DoorDash. These are what the national brands are anticipating to come through next. Smaller store footprints, more access for convenience, more drive-throughs, more curbside pickup. And even Kentucky Fried Chicken, a lot of them are doing away almost entirely with their indoor dining access, where they go in and have up to 5 lanes of drive-throughs. Again, figuring out on convenience and access. And these are things that I think local businesses, maybe not on the full drive-through aspect, but how are they making sure that if consumers are expecting a different type of convenience, how are the ways that you can make sure that you're really staying in line with that. Specifically to COVID, what are consumers expecting for brick and mortar in terms of safety checks and things like that. McKinsey came out with a report. It's something like 70 or 80% of consumers are looking for strong signs of safety measures right now, and that they expect brands and local businesses to have a safety concern. And it's, mask and barriers and cleaning and sanitation stations, things that they want both employees and customers to feel safe, to be safe in their shopping aspects, but they still are giving them a chance and want to have that shopping experience when it can be done safely. And then ultimately, what's kind of keeping them from in-store shopping? 27% are ultimately going to wait for the vaccine, but there's still a big proponent that are looking for those safe experiences they can go and engage in some sort of out-of-home activities. A lot of people are still waiting. They're waiting for government restrictions to lift, in which a lot of cases are being lifted, if not entirely and in part, and then take the next step. So it's businesses taking safety measures, like I mentioned, seeing other people do it. We're a copycat mimic society. As we see more people doing it without spikes, doing it safely, I think we're going to see more and more people go back to shopping. But working collaboratively, sending these signals is a big component. And I've got some data here in a minute that shows I think downtown Covington is well on its way to do that, and that you guys are probably ahead of the pack in terms of some of these aspects due to what we're seeing with the current foot traffic levels. I think one thing in the interim until we ultimately get past this, and that I don't think a lot of people talk about enough, is how local businesses and local districts, like downtowns, like Covington Square, really might become more demand than ever, as folks have really a high uncomfortableness with hotels, airplanes, ride sharing, public transportation. The only thing people really seem to trust and have faith right now is what's in their own control, personal vehicles. So as the holidays come, as fall break comes, Christmas break comes, when you get those days off school, whether getting away from screens, you're not going to go on the larger vacations. People are going to be looking for alternatives. Where can they drive for the day? Where can they go and maybe visit a pumpkin patch a little bit further than usual just to get out of the house for longer? And I think because of that, having cool destinations, like downtown Covington, might be more in vogue for some of those. So I think in one sense, Main Street and districts like you guys have there might become even in more demand than usual. Looking at further on, cheaper vacations, budget airlines, bottom of the list. They're not really doing a whole lot, but what they're looking for among internet users, really saying, let's say, stay local, but promotions and discounts when booking vacations. They're still looking to make all these things online, and I think that's going to ultimately point back to local businesses having another reason to have an online presence. Lasting effects of COVID-19, what are we expecting long term? Right now we're in the thick of it, but what are some of these trends that probably are going to stick around and play a role in how we have to operate our businesses, and which ones may not catch on quite as quickly? We've kind of got three segments here. We've had drive-throughs, we've had in-store checkout for a long time. Those are here to stay. Curbside pickup has really seen the biggest growth. That's kind of what's expected now. I think a big component of that is the contactless interaction there that people use for the safety aspect. But I don't think that people necessarily are going to expect that long-term or need that long-term, should I say. It's not going to be a requirement. If you can do it, I think it'll be great. People have been forced to adopt it and work around, but I don't think it's going to be quite as necessary as just the fact that you can pick up in store, you can park and walk in rather than being right there curbside by the front door. You see the green section there, the accelerated shifts. I think these are the ones that I think local businesses need to focus on. Hey, how can we maybe implement that and mimic the national guys most quickly? Looking at new store restaurant app or website, mobile friendly website where they can go in and really check out, hey, what are your store hours? Where can I find you guys? And then, hey, is there an option to buy this and then walk in and pick it up in store? And that's both for retail and for a restaurant as well. There are things like takeout windows, and we see a lot of downtown restaurants where you can go in and not have to go into the dining room and still maybe meet your quota as a restaurant to get consumers and still build that customer loyalty. Chipotle is kind of the top of the line on this, on having your meals ready to go, where they're kind of in a kiosk to the side with your name on it, where you don't even have to go through the register. This requires some sort of online payment system that needs to be set up. But I know brands or companies like Grubhub are setting up free websites for local restaurants that need to have these capabilities put in place during COVID. So the resources are out there to implement these types of methods, but these are really the things that customers are becoming more and more accustomed to. And if you want to be able to cater to your customers and have it be an easy, seamless experience for them to come back to over and over again, I think we're going to see more and more of these types of systems set up, even down in the local mom and pop type concepts. And then just kind of generally talking about areas and how this relates specifically to Covington, is the home workforce. During all this, I think businesses are ultimately going to see how much money they can save by not having an entire floor or two in downtown Atlanta or downtown Dallas, that they can still have their employees be productive. Some of the estimates show that 25 to 30% of us will be working at home multiple days a week by the end of next year. And that's going to have a major shift in daytime population for you restaurants. How much that lunch crowd can make or break you. And if you've got 25 to 30% of the workforce additionally back home in Covington and bedroom communities like Covington and around these major metropolitan areas, how much more that can help your businesses if you've got 15, 20,000 more people in your area during the day. That's major. It can have a major effect on it. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing. I hinted at this a few minutes ago in downtown Covington. So what this graph shows is I geofence downtown Covington, the square, about the 8 or 9 total square blocks, looking at it. And this is overall foot traffic in 2020. So we kind of see that first section there between January and March, kind of setting the baseline of what general foot traffic is. Obviously, in mid-March, everything gets shut down. We go on full quarantine across the country, and foot traffic bottoms out there through April, and then we slowly start coming back. But the key part here is how much through July and August we've peaked in terms of overall foot traffic in downtown Covington. How many people are spending time there? And it's been the highest it's been all year. That may or may not translate to sales of what you're seeing, but in terms of having folks and having consumers in the area, they've come back stronger than they were earlier in the year. Looking year over year on foot traffic here for 2020, really coming out of April and May, it appears that you've had stronger foot traffic, and it's tracking that you have more people downtown than ever before. Month for year over year, June, July, August, a 13% increase, 18% increase for July, but August had almost 40% more foot traffic in 2020 than it did in 2019. So it's showing to me that maybe some of these things are in play, whereas downtown Covington is proving to be, hey, this is something we can do safely, we feel comfortable doing. Maybe we're not going to Six Flags, maybe we're not going to downtown Atlanta, but hey, we can go to Covington. We know they've got some really cool restaurants, some really awesome places to go shop. They've got some cool draws there. This has kind of been a complementary and a substitute good at once, saying, hey, this is a place that we can go and be safe and have that experience after being cooped up. We're a social species. We have to have these experiences, and Covington may be a really good in-demand version for some of that. So I think if we can continue to show that, hey, this is a safe area. I know you've at least had plans. I think it's in play, a parking lot for pickup parking lot for downtown businesses. In all sense of they seem to be working and showing that this is a strong place with some strong foot traffic. And then touching on online aspects of things. This is obviously how a bunch of us look right now, working from home with our dogs. But this is how we're going to shop. How are brands being connected with their consumers? And it's really based a lot on generational differences. So, beaten to death the millennials and the Gen Zs, but just to highlight, a few of it, millennials make up a quarter of the population and make over half of their purchases online. A lot of that can still be the click and collect, the buy online, pick up in store, but they have that online presence with them, and have almost $1.5 trillion in purchasing power a year. This is the engine that's driving the retail economy right now. At the same time, they do want the integrated experiences. 70% of millennials really want to be able to go online, to have a shopping on their phone, walk into a store and have it match, so they can have that seamless experience, to where it's not entirely different. They want to be able to research you and see you as a local brand, know your story, so they can share it to their friends, rub it in their face, saying, hey, look what I'm doing here in downtown Covington. You can't do this, over in Columbia, South Carolina. You can't do this in Dallas. You have to come here to try it. This is what they're looking for. They want that unique aspect, and again, downtowns are really a major source of that. Mobile is like I mentioned, the biggest driver of that. You have to have some type of mobile access to where they can be shopping on their phone. Because as you know, millennials and Gen Zs even more so are constantly on their phones, on their screens. It's got to be something that viewers are constantly even reviewing while in store. And if it takes longer than 3 seconds to load, they're going to bail and find something else to do because of short attention span. So having a local business with an online presence, whether that's social media or a website, even Yelp and the review sites that I'll touch on in a moment, this has to be a part of your strategy, to make sure you're being seen, because it's not just being seen physically in person on the street. It's being seen online, where most of the eyes are looking at, and where most content is created and B, shared. And then following right behind that, as we're seeing more and more important, the Gen Z coming up right behind millennials. It's another quarter of the population. The big interesting thing here is 80% of them prefer to shop in store. These were the ones that didn't grow up prior to the Apple iPhone. You have always been able to shop on their phone. They weren't dragged to the mall with their sisters and their mom for 6 hours like I was growing up. Haven't been burnt out on that aspect. Right now, a lot of them aren't even in school, or doing social learning at some aspect, whether that's high school or the ones entering college, taking online classes. They're not getting that social interaction. So shopping has kind of been that therapeutic social interaction, the thing to do, to interact and have that face-to-face time rather than that screen time. So, we talk about the importance of an online presence. It's kind of counterintuitive, but it's really the importance of a brick and mortar location, which again lends itself back to local businesses, and why they kind of an answer and a solution for some of these things. This was a really interesting graph, somewhat related, coming into the outbreak. As you kind of see, this is, pink is the Walmart app downloads, and blue is the Amazon downloads. And Amazon has traditionally crushed Walmart with their app downloads, and their online presence. But as the pandemic hit, Walmart inverted that and passed Amazon for the first time. What's the reasoning behind this is really Walmart, everyone's within 15, 20 minutes of a Walmart just about across the country. And Walmart is showing that, hey, because they have such an advancement, such a leverage situation over Amazon in terms of brick and mortar, they realize that, hey, because of this, people are going to go where they can actually get products and pick them up and go to the physical location. So this is just another reason why the brick and mortar aspect is so important, especially when times get tough, especially in times like COVID like this, that having that physical location, not just for the face-to-face, but for the transaction where they can go and pick it up. And ultimately the source of where people can buy their goods. There's not some warehouse 3 or 4 across the country. If you have 2,500 of them and have that location and go and pick it up, it makes it a whole lot easier to interact with that. So I think there's really, to beat a dead horse, brick and mortar is not going away. It's not something that everyone's packing up their bags and going to the cloud. And then additionally, there have been so many studies about how a physical store lends itself to an online foot traffic. When people are driving by a physical location, they're going to Google it. They're going to look up the store hours. So it has that communal effect, that complementary effect, where they go in and they help one another. Where if you have a physical store and a website, you're ultimately going to do better together in both. And then this was just kind of a thought to kind of wrap this section up is, what the mentality is for small business. And this is what, I mentioned my dad's a small business owner in East Texas, that we talk a lot. And this is what I try to get him to understand, that, you're not launching an online presence to compete with Amazon. You're not trying to take down Jeff Bezos and all that aspect. That's always going to be there. Your goal is to help you interact with your customers, because having an independent brand, having something unique, is really what people are looking for. That's something that they don't get enough of, and they're looking online for you. So your goal is to really just make sure that you're visible, and make it easier for those customers to find you, because there's the ones that are out there and they already want to buy from you. So I think that's just an important mindset tweak, that, it's not trying to take down Amazon. It's trying to, again, satisfy your customer and make sure that they can find you. And the big piece here, if you don't have a website, it doesn't have to take a whole lot. It doesn't need to be, a $1,000 website to get things done. It's something that can be a simple standalone site, or even just being more social on, or more active on social media. It can be simple, but the big thing is it has to be something. It has to be there. Looking at, this is some survey results from Bright Local. They do this annually. It's going to be interesting what they do for this year. But how frequently do internet users find a local business? This is local business. This isn't Walmart. This isn't Target. This isn't Chick-fil-A. It's how often are people looking for local businesses online? And it's 90% of consumers use the internet to find a local business. 9 out of 10 customers are looking for local businesses online. They're Googling, look at it. A third of them look every day. So if you're not having any type of online presence, you're missing out on the 90% of folks that are looking for it. The core demographic, 18 to 55, 3/4 of them are looking every week for local businesses. So the argument is really clear. You have to have some sort of physical presence or online presence to get them into your physical store. McKinsey came out with a report last month showing that in a matter of 90 days, or the 3 months, kind of the peak COVID, we have advanced 10 years in consumer and business digital adoption. We've changed 10 years worth of behavior on the track that we were in a matter of 90 days. I think that's a key component, that we've had so much forced adoption. Look how quickly we changed to get buy online pickup, to get curbside pickup, to get contactless transactions happen. We adapted so quickly, 10 years worth of 9 days, which I think is an unbelievable stat. But because that's forced adoption, not all of that's going to slide backward. This has kind of been forced in advance. A lot of this is here to stay, like I mentioned. We have to make sure that we're looking forward and doing what we can to adapt to these new consumer trends, because they are going to stick. And a big piece of that is obviously social media platforms. So I don't want to take up too much time, but I got just a few slides just talking about some of these if you're not familiar with. For retail, obviously Facebook, Instagram, and even Pinterest are really the top 3 aspects. Teens, it's Instagram and Snapchat. Millennials, Facebook and Instagram. Males is even YouTube in there as well. But these are all free platforms that you can use, if not already, to really engage. And this is where they're looking for those opportunities to go spend their money, especially during COVID. All the studies are showing that people are wanting to support local businesses, are looking for ways. But if you're not presenting them with options, they're not going to see it. It really doesn't take a whole lot. It's not rocket science to go in. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's a quick, hey, this is the dress of the day. Here's a link to our website. Check it out. People aren't expecting pristine, perfect, crafted marketing campaigns, like Nike or Bridgestone or whatever else may be. It's, hey, what's available? How can I go support local businesses? It's all you really have to do is simple posts. And you already have a lot of the content. You have specials of the day. One thing I did want to point out, especially for some of the boutiques that may be in the room, Pinterest reaches 83% of all women in the US, which is just an absurd stat. that you can reach that much of a specific demographic. So if your business is not on Pinterest, you don't have those sites, maybe something worth looking into, because that's going to be one of the top channels to reach a specific demographic. I say 83% is an absurdly high number in terms of overall reach. So I just wanted to kind of throw that nugget in there as well. And then, like I said, it doesn't have to take rocket science. You have, new clothes coming in. You have, the special. You can take a picture of a plate. El Arroyo is a place in Austin, Texas. All they do is post their sign every day. It's an old, really a crappy sign, but they have witty sayings on it, and everyone knows about El Arroyo in Austin, Texas, here in the Texas area. Obviously during COVID, you don't have to hunt for tacos, so it's nice, but they drive so much foot traffic to it, and their following is so intense because they have kind of a standard approach to it, and it's, hey, here's our sign for the day. So it doesn't have to take a whole marketing department to pull this off. And then this kind of the last thing I want to mention was review sites. This is critical to driving foot traffic and maintaining, what people think about your restaurant, your boutique. The first thing that I do when I go to a new community, whenever I hopefully get back to traveling again, is, hey, what's the best place to eat in A, B, or C? And I Googled the Covington one, and just the top 3 popped up. And I'm not trying to start a debate of which one's better or worse, but this is just the facts of what pops up. And these are all algorithm based, because these are probably the ones that have the most comments, that have the most interaction, that are claimed on TripAdvisor and Yelp. All of these things go into how these results are ultimately filtered and what comes to the top. And as you can see here, once you get past the map there, the 3 websites that pop up are TripAdvisor, and Yelp. These are the aspects that people are going to click on the first 2 websites, and that's where they're going to go. They're going to go to the Yelp app. So if you don't have your Yelp profile claimed, it's a super simple process, but it's a major component to how you can, again, interact with consumers and build that loyalty and get those reviews, because the reviews are a major component of how people who are not familiar with an area make a decision. So those are just something else to make sure you're going in and claiming your TripAdvisor and your Yelp pages as well. And then lastly, it's very simple, but be post worthy. Like I said, this is the age of social media, especially during COVID, when we're not getting the interaction with our friends in person. It's all through social media. Give people who are coming in, who are interacting, who are purchasing with you, something to post about. We talk about in terms of community, having a wing wall, but if it's a cool dessert you have on your menu, like the Cookie Monster, that's out of a place outside of Nashville, but I guarantee if someone orders that off your menu, they're not going to not take a picture of it. You have to share that picture of Cookie Monster. So think of ways to have those social media moments, that Instagrammable moment, and prompt them, put up a little sign, hey, you like this, take a picture of it, share it with your friends, use this hashtag. These are all ways to get your name out there to share. And then sometimes you can even get a little bit wacky, not that I'd necessarily recommend this, but set up drag queen bingo like the coffee shop outside of Chicago does on occasion, that really draws in a crowd, but just find a way to stay socially distance on that. But people are looking to share. They are looking to ways to support local businesses right now. It's just engaging them and making sure that they know that they can be safe there in your store, that you are open, and how to find you. That's the biggest component. But I think overall, the foot traffic report that I had showed that there are a lot of things going right in Covington. Like I said, doesn't necessarily have to translate into sales, but the first piece is getting the foot traffic there. And so far, I would say that Covington is kind of outpacing the average. So there are some things going right. So kudos to you as businesses that are obviously sending that signal, and to also leadership that are setting up things like the pickup parking lot and other sense. So I'm not sure what my time was supposed to be, so hopefully I kept it under that. I don't know if there are any questions, but you can feel free to ask them if there's time now, or you're always welcome to follow up with me directly.
Thank you, Charles. Does anybody have any questions for Charles before we leave him? I know this was a little small, but we recorded it, it will be on our YouTube channel, and we'll send it a link to everyone that was here. Does anybody have any questions?
I wanted to share something real quick with y'all too, just kind of a shameless plug for the chamber. On top of what Charles was saying about Yelp sites like Google reviews, your Facebook, please make sure your chamber business directory listing is up to date as well. Our website's been getting a ton of traffic. Please reach out to me if you visit your business listing and realize it has nothing more than your name on it. It's really important that we also link your social media there. We're getting a lot of visitors to the area who are visiting our website and desperate to find out information about our business. So the more that we can give them to kind of create that feeling of who you are, I think the better.
That's a good point, Amelia, and to piggyback on that and to what Charles said, we are seeing tons of visitors coming to the Newton County, because people are not wanting to go into the larger cities. And this is a trend nationwide, but they're, like he said, the safety of their own vehicle, they're taking day trips. So we're getting a lot of people reaching out to us, wanting to know what's open, and so we are directing them to the website. So as Amelia said, please make sure that information is up to date. But if you've seen traffic around town, you know that folks are coming to visit, and you know, hopefully that'll carry through the holidays too. A couple of takeaways. And I know we say this, but it bears reiterating. Please make sure you have an online presence, especially on social media too. It's so important, even more so now in going through COVID. And I thought that was really interesting, and I can so see that how we 10 years of behavior literally changed in that 90-day period. I think we've all felt that and experienced it. That really hit home to me when he said that. So does anybody else have any questions? We are going to preview our Christmas Shop Local.
Thank you, Charles, for hopping on. I'm going to go ahead and end it now, okay?
Okay.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Appreciate it.